Good afternoon. My name is Shanita Sanks. Thomas Jefferson is known in American history as the founding father and the author of the Declaration of Independence. He was also elected the third president of the United States. His titles as the founding father, the author of the Declaration of Independence, and president of the United States are parts of his legacy. However, there are other parts to Thomas Jefferson's legacy. He was known as an apostle of freedom because of his work with religious freedom in Virginia, as well as his complicated relationship with slavery. In this video, I want to discuss a part of Thomas Jefferson's legacy, which was his complicated stance on slavery and Sally Hemings. One of the parts of Thomas Jefferson's legacy was his complicated stance on slavery. At a time when slavery was the norm, Thomas Jefferson's views of slavery was radical. According to Krista Dirkshield of Monticello.org, Thomas Jefferson was a consistent opponent of slavery. Jefferson believed that slavery represented the greatest threat to American democracy and to the survival of the American nation. Also, it was contrary to nature because it was an individual's natural right to liberty. At the time of the American Revolution, Thomas Jefferson was actively involved in legislation that he had hoped would result in slavery's abolition. In 1778, he drafted a Virginia law that prohibited the importation of slavery of enslaved Africans. In 1784, he proposed an ordinance that would ban slavery in the Northwest Territories, but Jefferson always upheld that the decision to emancipate slaves was a democratic process held by the slave owners. To Jefferson, it was anti-democratic to have a few farmers emancipate their slaves and others do not. Also, Jefferson wrote that maintaining slavery was like, and I quote, holding a wolf by the ears. He thought that the world's first democratic test would be that he orchestrated would be destroyed by slavery. To liberate slaves on American soil, Jefferson thought would result in a race war that would be brutal and deadly. He also believed that to keep slaves in bondage, with part of America in favor of abolition and part of America that's in favor of perpetuating slavery, that it would result in a civil war, which unfortunately he was right, because in 1861 the Civil War began, and one of the issues was the issue of slavery and how slavery should be expanded to the Western territories. What makes his stance on slavery complicated was that he himself owned slaves. According to Krista Thompson in today's news, Washington Post, which I think was ironic, but I wanted to share this edition of the Washington Post, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the words, "All men are created equal," in 1776 was a master of a 5,000-acre working plantation, and over the course of his life, he owned 607 slaves. One slave in particular, Sally Hemings, was an enslaved woman who was owned by Jefferson and had a long-term relationship with him. According to the article, she had a room not far from his room in Monticello that was eventually turned into a bathroom. According to the article, the room is going to be restored in an effort to reveal how the slaves lived at Monticello. Many historians believed, based on DNA evidence, that Thomas Jefferson was the father of her six children. Now, there are also many people who do not agree with that, and of course, one of them being the Thomas Jefferson's children, and also Monticello.org. However, in spite of his controversies that were present in Jefferson's life regarding slavery, his conviction for the freedom of all individuals is cemented in history. Thomas Jefferson was the nation's architect of freedom and independence, and that will always be a part of his legacy. Thank you.